welcome to the Trans Tipping Point. This is Joseph, obviously. I live here in Iowa, as many probably know. We had the pleasure of a visit from Tim Walz, who obviously was the guy that ran for vice president, and frankly, was probably the best part of that campaign. Tim Walz came into town and said there's a responsibility in this time of chaos where elected officials need to hear what the people are irritated about. He said, and I would argue the Democratic officials should hear the primal scream that's coming from America, which is, do something, damn it. This is wrong. First of all, let me just say how perfectly that accurately captures the energy that so many of us on the political left are feeling right now. We have an opposition party that ostensibly represents the left side of the political spectrum, but it is failing, and I think we can all see that. Today in the United States Senate, unlike what Tim Walz was accurately saying here in Iowa, Senate Democrats betrayed us. They helped the Republicans pass a spending bill, something called a continuing resolution. The bill needed 60 votes. We don't need to get into the details. The votes, they needed 60 votes to pass it. They have 53 Republicans. They all, except for one, voted for it. So they had 52. They needed at least 8 Democrats, and they got 10. Here's their names. Catherine Cortez Masto of Nevada, Dick Durbin of Illinois, John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, Kirsten Gillibrand of New York, Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire, Angus King of Maine, who's technically an independent, Gary Peters of Michigan, Brian Schatz, to his shame, of Hawaii, Chuck Schumer of New York, and Jeanne Shaheen of New Hampshire. Now, the reason I bring this up is because if even 3 of those people had voted the other way, let's say Brian Schatz of Hawaii and, I don't know, Maggie Hassan and Dick Durbin had voted the other way, then we would have only had 7 Democrats and the bill would have failed. What did the bill do exactly? Well, it's kind of hard to find this out online because there's not a lot of good reporting on this. But let me just summarize it. Without getting too much into the weeds, the federal budget looks something like this. We spend a huge chunk of our budget, about 40%, on Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. We spend another 12% on defense. We also have interest on the national debt. That adds up to 58% or so. The rest, the other 42%, is something, generally speaking, called it's called discretionary spending, and in fact, it's more specifically called non-defense discretionary spending. Now, as of right now, this is what that balance looks like between defense and non-defense discretionary spending. Basically, what this bill did was it took money out of non-defense spending and put it into defense, about $13 billion for half a year. And it then put 6 of that 13 into defense. So if you cut this in half, I mean, it's hard to, the math is a little bit weird, but basically think of this going down to like 45% and this going up to 55%. So rather than there being a 4% difference between non-defense and defense spending, there's now going to be a 10% difference or so. And that's a big deal because that $13 billion means we're going to have to cut programs like programs that help people who are going through a rough time, veterans benefits, healthcare programs, and things that are designed to help schools with technology and things like that. All the types of things that government's supposed to do, that's what's getting cut. And in the meantime, we're spending more money on the world's biggest military that is definitely not in need of the extra $6 billion. But that's not really what I'm pissed off about, even though I hate cutting $13 billion from non-defense discretionary spending. By the way, it's just as an aside, that $13 billion cut in non-defense discretionary spending is actually more than Doge has saved our government since it's been in operation. So, like, I don't want to get off track too much and talk about Doge, but I think it's crazy that one little line of legislation can cut $13 billion, yet Elon Musk and all his little fucking 20-year-olds, big balls and whatever, going around the government looking for savings, have only saved like a few $100 million. And even that's questionable. That is not why I'm pissed off. The reason I'm pissed off is because not only does it do the spending priority that is way against what's in the public interest. So what this defense bill or this spending bill does is it says, okay, all that illegal shit you're doing, we're just going to like authorize it. So in a sense, it sort of like retroactively gives cover to some of what Trump's been doing. But more importantly, going forward, it basically creates more flexibility for the federal government to spend money. And it basically says, okay, Donald Trump, we're giving you a lot freer hand to rearrange and reprogram money and fire people and so forth and so on. So basically what it does is it transfers some, and it's somewhat implied, but it's very clearly going on here. It transfers some authority from the legislative branch, the people's branch, the branch that makes law and spends money, over to Donald Trump for him to do it. And liberals and leftists have been complaining, and correctly so, about the illegal actions of the Trump administration, the unprecedented fascistic authoritarian actions of the Trump administration. And this spending bill basically ratifies that, or at least in part it does. In some ways, it's very similar to the Enabling Act, which was a law passed by the Nazi Party of Germany in 1933 as the Nazis were rising to power. The Enabling Act basically gave Hitler a whole bunch of power that previously the Reichstag or whatever had before, meaning their legislature had this power before. It gave it over to Hitler. To pass this bill, this restructuring of the German government to give Hitler basically dictatorial power, they needed 432 of the whole the number of deputies in their parliament, and they ended up getting 444. And in other words, if we could have gotten, if the German people were able to get 13 people to not vote for the Enabling Act, I don't know, maybe Hitler wouldn't have risen to power. Now that's kind of speculative. It is a counterfactual in history. But look here, the Center Party. Yeah, sure, the right wing, the Nazis are always going to vote for Hitler. These are right-wing parties largely. They probably were going to vote for Hitler, but these 72 didn't have to vote for that. But they were scared. They were scared, the 72 centrists in the German parliament. If they had gone over with the Social Democrats and then the Communist Party, which was not even allowed to participate, they would have had enough votes to stop the Enabling Act and perhaps prevent Hitler from rising to power and getting exclusive control over the German budget and military and economy and so forth and so on. But they didn't. They caved. They caved, and they gave Hitler the power. And that's exactly what the Democrats just did. I've been using some hyperbole today about this. I've been talking about how this is sort of like the Trump version of the Enabling Act. That might be a bit extreme, but not that much. Look at these 10 right here. They needed 7 of these. They got 10. If we had just gotten 7 or even 4 of these people to not vote for this, we could have stopped this effort to give Trump more power and to ratify his illegal actions. But we didn't. We didn't do it. And now, on the same day that Tim Walz is here, talking about recognizing the primal scream coming from America, the fucking National Democrats basically just caved. They caved. They absolutely caved. And they gave Trump what he wanted. They ratified his prior use of illegal power to some extent, and they gave him even more power. Now, how is this playing in America? Did the people want us to cave? Did the people want us to not fight? Did the people say, oh, well, we're risking government shutdown by opposing this, so we had to do it? No. Let me show you a few things, okay? Let's just pick a random person who voted for this. This is hilarious. I could do this all day. Let's pick Maggie Hassan, just randomly, okay? I haven't looked at this yet. The first comment, I love this, George Takei. The first rule in fighting tyranny is never capitulate in advance. You broke that rule. You are not up to the moment as a leader. Hot. Love you, George. Repost. Tina M. Quirk. Sharing the same script as the rest of the sellouts. You are an embarrassment of a senator and bring shame to New Hampshire. Be prepared to be primaried by all of us who will financially back whomever runs against you. Go over to Dick Durbin. Colleen. Regular-looking Democrat. You've devoted much of your life to the fight. Your term is up in 2026, and I hope you won't run for re-election. It would be sad to be primaried, so spare the party that. You didn't stick it out with us, but went with Trump. Enjoy the cut to your constituents' healthcare. The resistor sister. This was the wrong decision, Senator. Trump and Elmo are already wreaking havoc across America. You've just given them free rein to do so even more freely and more broadly. You gave this Timothy Bellman. You gave your approval of what the current administration is doing. Step down from leadership. Claude Parker. The country is already in chaos, and Trump is doing everything you just stated and more. By you saying yes to the CR just indicates that you and the other 9 Democratic senators are not interested in fighting. I don't think you and the other 9 senators know what the opposition party is, but protesters will help you understand. GK Moto, coward, we are counting on you, and you stabbed us in the back. Art Candy, I can't wait until you're out of office. And so from Joey Macri, you're a coward. You're a dirty whore. Love that. Absolutely dirty whore. We are very disappointed in you, sir. Pussy, vote no. Ray Donovan, resign. Okay, I could go down this list for a while, but that's Dick Durbin. Let's do another one. Chuck Schumer, New York. John Cooper, I'm terribly disappointed in you, Chuck. Beyond words, please do the right thing and vote no on cloture. I guess this was a post from a while ago. You're going to be riding solo on this, and your legacy will be placating a Nazi. I couldn't agree more. Fuck Chuck, vote no, you coward. Nice. Like, if you go down the list, you basically see tons of people hating on the Democrats right now who are disappointed about being betrayed by the Democrats betraying us. They are enabling and collaborating with the Trump administration while it's engaging in authoritarian, expansion of government power to oppress the people. In the meantime, they're disappearing people for having the audacity to disagree with the state's position on Palestine. They are cutting veterans' suicide hotlines, and they are cutting USAID and basically having the effect of letting children die in impoverished areas around the world. They are cutting Medicaid. They are cutting everything. They are firing people and destroying the economy. But basically my point is that everybody who's reasonable or a Democrat or on the left is going down and just unloading on these traitor Democrats. Let's do another one. Cortez Masto. She is probably the one that I'm the most sympathetic to because she is from a tough state and ran as a moderate, but I guarantee you she's going to be having the same things. And here we go, another one. You folded quicker than a cheap Walmart Chinese-made lawn chair. That's a flat-out lie. We are very disappointed in you, Ma. These things you fear are already happening. All you've done is give these cowards a somber headshake as you hold the door open for them to do more damage. You need to go now. This was your chance to stay united. You have no spine. Time to resign. Agreed. You are fucking scum. You're a dino Republican. You won't be able to live this down. Agreed. You just handed everything to the dictator. You took away the power of judges to do the right thing. Yeah, so that's the issue. By ratifying this spending bill, you're basically undermining the ability of judges to really crack down on Trump because the Congress has given him partial approval now. They've enabled him to act. Here we go. You show again that the Dems do not have a backbone to fight rampant corruption. I work to help you get you and other Dems elected. These are the choices that are remembered. The list of the week: Schumer, Fetterman, Cortez Masto, Durbin, King, Shaheen, Gillibrand, Schatz, Hassan, Peters. Vote no. What part of the CR of this Musk shit show deserves your stamp of approval? It's not your job to betray your constituents or help MAGA pass their BS CR. Make them pass it and make them own it. They are the majority. All right. So I could read this all night long, but if you go down the list of all the fucking senators who voted for this, you get this kind of commentary. And then let's go to Mazie Hirono. Now, you know what? I can think of very few things that are more indicative of moral courage and doing the right thing than getting Trump people mad at you. That's a good thing. I am so pissed off at Chuck Schumer and the leadership, and I think the only thing we can do now is go with this model. We need to recognize the primal scream that's coming from America to stop this shit. We need to get people in there who fight. I would rather have somebody I agree with 60% who fights like hell than somebody I agree with 80% that is a spineless coward. And I think we need to be protesting Democrats who are betraying us just as much as Republicans. So this day will be remembered as the day that the Democrats let Trump rise to power and seize more power. And if you're feeling like depressed and pissed off and powerless, I do not disagree with you. I can't really argue with that. But I just wanted to get on here and tell you how pissed off I am and how much I think these Democrats, these 10, right here, these 10, are traitors. And I think they will go down as the German Center Party that enabled Hitler to come to power. These are the people that enabled Trump to seize ultimate power, which he'll use to terrorize the country. And I'm so pissed off, and I couldn't stay quiet. I hate the Republican Party so much, and I hate these bigots, and I hate these people who are just destroying our country. But I tell you what, I posed the following question. Ask yourself this: which is the greater evil? The deluded fascist, or the people that saw the fascism happening, could have stopped it, and then voted to enable it? Which is worse, honestly? Fascists are often so fucked up and caught up in their own brain. I mean, I'm not excusing fascism, it's evil. But if you're clear-headed and you vote to allow fascists to have power, maybe you're evil too, maybe you're worse. That's for you to decide. But I tell you what, I will never put my faith in the National Democratic Party again. I did 3 cycles, 3 campaigns with the party. I was an apologist. I was on social media fighting against claims that the Democratic Party was out of touch and was not fighting for you and was caving to corporate interests and blah, blah, blah. I can't do that anymore. I just can't. They are fucking up so bad as the opposition party. They need to be out there with a message and fighting this shit. And they absolutely should not be handing Trump power on a silver platter. And they just did that. They did it while we were watching, while we were calling. They were getting flooded. Their fucking Senate phone lines. I called like 8 senators today. Every single phone line was either busy or it sent me to a voicemail. And I left a few voicemails. But they didn't even have the capacity to field all the angry calls they were getting. So, yeah, I mean, like, good luck convincing people to fund you, volunteer for you, and vote for you if you're going to do this shit. Like, I realize Chuck Schumer is, like, begging for more corporate money, but what good is corporate money if the people hate you? Like, it's one thing if some right-wing assholes hate you, but when normal, like, center and left-wing people also hate you, you have no power base. It doesn't matter how much fucking money some sociopathic corporate CEO gives you. Like, that's not what politics should be about, and frankly doesn't have to be about. I am so fucking sick of Chuck Schumer, and I absolutely think every one of the 10 Democrats who isn't retiring should be forced out of the party, should be primaried, should be protested, should be absolutely pressured to the maximum. Yeah, like during the election, every Democrat trying to raise money, trying to get votes, trying to get volunteers, would refer to Trump and his cronies as authoritarians, as fascists, as tyrants, as people who are trying to take over and steal and be corrupt. And they would use this language, the language of undemocratic. And they would say this is a unique danger, a true threat to the survival of our democracy. And you know what? I agree with them. But then they turn around and they literally vote to give the fascist the power he needs to do fascism. They literally did that today. And they were being flooded with hundreds of phone calls from their constituents, thousands of phone calls from their constituents. Every single one of the 10 were being flooded with, I'm guessing, 20 to 1, 30 to 1, 50 to 1, 100 to 1 ratio of phone calls in favor of opposing the legislation, and they voted for it anyway. Because they're fucking cowards, and they're not up to this moment to save our country from the Republicans. They are just as guilty as Trump and Elon Musk and the Republican Nazis in Congress that are voting right now to take away healthcare from millions of people, to take away rights from people, to kick people out of the military, to break up families, to disappear people without due process, to criminalize protest. They are right there with these Nazis who are gutting agencies, destroying federal departments that make our country a better place, like the Department of Education, firing Department of Energy workers who oversee our nuclear plants, or firing bird flu researchers who try to prevent bird flu, or Ebola researchers who try to prevent Ebola. They are right there. They are complicit. They are collaborationists with the Republicans. Not every Democrat is. There's a lot of really good Democrats. Tim Walz is one of them. I would say Bernie Sanders has been showing a lot of backbone. And you know who else is a really good one today that I need to I'll shout out two more. First, let's talk about AOC.
This continuing resolution codifies much of this chaos that Elon Musk is wreaking havoc on the federal government. It codifies many of those changes. It sacrifices and completely eliminates congressional authority in order to review these impulsive Trump tariffs. This Republican extreme spending bill removes all of the guardrails and all of the accountability measures to ensure that money is being spent in the way that Congress has directed for it to be spent. This turns the federal government into a slush fund for Donald Trump and Elon Musk. It is almost unthinkable why Senate Democrats would vote to hand the few pieces of leverage that we have away for free when we've been sent here to protect Social Security, protect Medicaid, and protect Medicare.
What do you think of the job that Chuck Schumer is doing? Would you ever challenge him, do you think? Chuck Schumer just said that he's going to vote for cloture. Not only the Democrats can do it, but he's going to participate in it. Does that mean that you think he's a weak Senate leader?
I think that would be a mistake. I genuinely do. I don't think it's what New Yorkers want. I don't think it's what the country wants. This is genuinely not about Democrats or Republicans. This is about deep cuts to Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid. This is about the evisceration of the federal government. This is about codifying the looting that is happening at the behest of Elon Musk in order to pay for his tax breaks for billionaires.
AOC is just out there right now making the case, and I have to say she's doing a hell of a job. It's pretty clear that if Schumer survives that long, AOC will primary him and will become a senator from the state of New York, will defeat Chuck Schumer. And I wouldn't be surprised if actually she runs for president at some point. I don't know. She is so good at messaging. She's what we need right now. Like, this bullshit Chuck Schumer nonsense is unacceptable. So shout out to AOC for doing God's work by taking it to Chuck Schumer out there. The other one I want to shout out is Chris Murphy. I just watched him do an Instagram live, which was pretty good. It's right here, but and he literally says, "I just got home, tough fucking day." He voted no, and he was really making a good case. I think this is the video. Here we go.
Bill, when it comes up for a vote tomorrow, you deserve to know the stakes here. First of all, you get this. Trump has a plan, and he's implementing it to destroy our economy and our government, to create a crisis that allows him to hand our government over to his billionaire friends and to suspend our democracy. I wish that weren't true, but it is. The question then is this: does the funding bill make it easier or harder for Trump to implement that plan? Now, I judge that it makes it easier, and so I can't support it. The basics here are this: Republicans are in charge, right? They need Democratic votes to pass a funding bill, but they never negotiated with Democrats. They didn't even try. They wrote their own partisan bill. They filled it with all sorts of right-wing shit. This isn't a continuing resolution. It doesn't just continue last year's funding, even though the press is reporting it that way. It makes big changes to law, and they're all changes designed to make it easier for Trump to implement that plan to destroy our country. For instance, it makes massive cuts to housing programs, to Social Security, to programs for healthcare for working families. That paves the way for Musk to advance his illegal assault on those government services. It gives Trump brand new spending powers. For instance, the ability to start new military programs that haven't even been authorized by Congress. At this moment of crisis, that sounds like a really dangerous idea. And it takes key guardrails off of presidential spending authority. That allows Trump and Musk to more easily move money from one account to the other. Now listen, Trump and Musk are going to keep acting illegally, no matter what this funding bill says. Whether we stop them, that's going to be up to the courts and up to our ability to mobilize people all over the country against their agenda, which is deeply, deeply unpopular. But by passing a bill that makes their plan easier to implement, Democrats risk putting a kind of bipartisan veneer of endorsement on their campaign to give our government to the billionaires and to destroy the rule of law. And I just won't be a part of that.
All right, I absolutely love that. What a great statement. Great job laying out what happened, what the bill was about, and great point about how to stop it. Now, I really like that last point where he was talking about the danger of putting a bipartisan veneer on Trump's corruption. Obviously, they're going to trumpet that from the rooftops and say, look, it can't be that bad because, a bunch of Democrats voted for it. That's all. The Democrats voted for what we're doing. And that's why you can't collaborate with Nazis. That's why you don't collaborate with fascists. That's why you don't collaborate with authoritarians and dictators and people that want to destroy your country and take away your rights. 10 Democrats voted to give Donald Trump the ability to do fascism. It is that simple. And not only did they vote for it and literally give him that power, they helped play cover for it. When our democracy declines even more, it will be, yes, absolutely the Republicans' fault, but it will absolutely also be those 10 Democrats' fault. Let me say their names again. Catherine Cortez Masto, Nevada; Dick Durbin, Illinois; John Fetterman, Pennsylvania; Kirsten Gillibrand, New York; Maggie Hassan, New Hampshire; Angus King, Maine; Gary Peters, Michigan; Brian Schatz, Hawaii; Chuck Schumer, New York; Jeanne Shaheen, New Hampshire. 2 or 3 of them, I think 3 of them might be retiring. Brian Schatz, what the fuck is your excuse? You're a lefty progressive from the bluest state in the country, Hawaii. And you were the one leading the charge against Donald Trump cutting USAID and wanting to start protests in the streets. What got to you? Why did you betray us? Chuck Schumer, I don't even want to start talking about you. You're the worst leader in history. And not only did you vote for it, which is bad enough, you could have done that at the last minute, I guess. But what you did is you made a big to-do about it. You announced it last night, and you probably told all your people, hey, let's find a way to get this over the line. We don't want the government to shut down. You know how I know that's true? Because they needed 8 votes. Let me tell you a secret, people. When somebody needs votes from the other party, oftentimes it's the job of the whip or whatever to find those votes. But the reason you know that this was sort of worked on and figured out ahead of time is because they got 10 votes. Not 8, not 9. Well, 9 would have been similar too, but they got 10. Why is that important? Because now any one of them can say, oh, I wasn't the one that brought it over the line. It passed by 10 votes, 2 more than we needed. So 2 other people voted for the thing. They have exactly 2-vote margin. So they can say, hey, it wasn't not my fault. I don't have to be accountable. Dick Durbin, I met you. You've been good on a lot of issues. What the fuck? I know you're in the leadership, but you know who else? Here's a fun one. Amy Klobuchar, often thought of as a moderate, voted against it. What's your excuse, Dick Durbin? She put out a good statement and got praise for it. And yeah, she's got actually her Twitter is covered in a lot of compliments. You should be the leader. Take it. We need you. Step up. History calls. Now, I could talk about all the other senators and so forth, but the thing that makes Amy Klobuchar special is she's like, I believe, the number 3 Democrat in the Senate. She's in the leadership. So this excuse that you were in leadership, so you had to be loyal to Chuck Schumer, that Dick Durbin might have, fuck that. Klobuchar voted against it. Why couldn't Durbin? Here we go. Democratic leader, minority leader, Chuck Schumer. Fucking sucks. Democratic whip, Dick Durbin. Shame on you. 3rd, Amy Klobuchar. Steering and policy. Congratulations. You know what should happen? Here's an easy one. The Democratic senators should get together and remove the following people from this list: Chuck Schumer, Dick Durbin, gone. Catherine Cortez Masto, gone. Brian Schatz, absolutely gone. I wanted to make this video. This is a production of my up-and-coming podcast, which I'm going to call The Trans Tipping Point. We're going to do a lot of episodes about trans rights and other related issues, but I wanted to get on here and just bitch about the Democrats today because that is what is needed. These people are literally sitting there and they're watching a building that's on fire, that Donald Trump is going around like lighting on fire. And they're like, oh, well, we wouldn't want to have to shut the building down temporarily to stop the person spreading the fire. So I guess we'll keep the building open even though he's setting it on fire. That's the good analogy right there. That's what happened. Donald Trump is taking a chainsaw to the federal government right now. He is illegally dismantling programs, cutting service programs, cutting employment, and destroying the economy. He is setting fire, metaphorically, to the democracy that we live in. And yeah, a government shutdown isn't ideal, but it's better than fucking letting the building burn down. Like, it's a very good analogy. Think about it. If you're sitting in a building and somebody comes in and it's like, hey, the building's on fire, we may have to shut down for a minute. You'd be like, oh, okay, I guess that's better than the building burning down. But these 10 Democrats and all the Republicans are like, no, let's not let the building shut for even a second. Let's not risk losing a couple hours of employee productivity while we put out this fucking fire. You gotta stay, the building's gotta stay open. And the arsonists has gotta be allowed to keep burning buildings down. And in fact, let's not just not shut the building down and put out the fire. Let's actually give the arsonist more napalm. And let's change the law to make it so he can light more fires without being in trouble for it. And let's ratify all the arson he's already done. That's what happened. And that's unacceptable. These Democrats are not up to the moment, and everybody listening right now needs to be ready to protest these people, to make calls, to do what we got to do to get them out. At the very least, you need to have it in your mind that there are good Democrats like AOC and Chris Murphy, and there are bad Democrats like Chuck Schumer and Brian Schatz and Maggie Hassan. If these people vote for Republicans, they are giving away the only leverage we have right now to stop Republican corruption and tyranny. And that is an unacceptable thing for the opposition party to be doing. So I hope you've gotten something out of this. It makes me so angry, and I absolutely had to get on here and comment. Hit me up if you have any questions, and thank you for watching The Trans Tipping Point.